Welcome back to Movies TV Man, and welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCU Daily. What are the signs when they're panicking over a movie? When they keep on trying to remind us, when they get the big access media sites like THR and Variety to remind us that there have been no major reshoots, they're just pickups, which is what they're trying to say. I think we all know that's not true, and that there's a new composer just kind of helping John Murphy along. That's not true. This HBO composer has replaced John Murphy. Also, what they've tried to say is that some of John Murphy's music will still be used. Yes, probably just that John Williams theme he adapted, but most of the other stuff will be from this new guy. Now, there's people called boxofficetheory.com, is, I suppose you'd call it, a site, have basically given us the expected 3-day opening box office domestically for Superman. And here it is. Now, there was another one which was a lot lower than this, which was a theory. These are just theories, by the way. They don't know anything. Really, the time when we'll be able to project it properly is when the tickets go on sale, and then we get the results back from that. So they obviously they allow people to buy tickets before the film's released, so that's going to be interesting as well. And they'll probably attach a trailer to that as well, one final trailer. So it's all very, very interesting. But everything we're getting right now, all the leaks we're getting from the test screenings, it's sounding like James Gunn, this is no longer his film anymore. And I think it hasn't been his film since they decided to change the teaser trailer and make it so moody and a lot darker. We still really haven't seen Superman smile in any of these trailers or promotions. It's a crazy situation, right? Because what this film really needed, because they're so desperate for it to make money for them, right, was for it not to take any liberties, to be a paint by numbers Superman film. Man of Steel wasn't a paint by number Superman film. It made some changes to canon. It was, it was a contemporary Superman movie. What it tried to do is do the opposite of what Superman 78 did, purposely. It tried to be modern, it tried to have a fast pace, it had a lot of action, it was highly entertaining, it wasn't everyone's cup of tea. So another prediction, we'll get into these estimates for the 3-day domestic box office weekend for Superman. There was another one that claimed that it would open to around the same that Man of Steel did. I think that's 113 million, which is pretty low for for a superhero like Superman. Man of Steel spent a lot of money. It was an expensive film to make, and you can see that it's aged so well because they spent a lot of money on VFX. And the film brought in respectable money, but not the big money they wanted. So, here's the one from boxofficetheory.com. So, this is not an official kind of prediction. Now, and can you trust them? And how have they worked this out, by the way? Now, I think 1 or 2 countries have actually, released, you're able to pre-order tickets. So maybe they've kind of multiplied that. I don't know how they're working it out. So, James Gunn's Superman is expected to open at 154 million to 175 million plus in its domestic 3-day opening weekend. Now, this is quite higher than how Man of Steel opened, right? Because we just said 113 million. 154 to 175. Now, I think that what was that game? What was that game adaptation they just did, right? Anyway, Minecraft, that's it. That opened to what? 169 million, and I think it's on around 900 million. Now, if that was the case for this Superman movie, 900 million by its 4th or 5th week, they would be happy. They are looking at 750 is acceptable to them, but they really like 800. 800 million would really make them happy. 800, 850, the studio would be ecstatic about that. So 154 to 175 million now, according now according to this, Superman is expected to be the biggest hit of the summer. Now with Fantastic Four being released, and we don't know if Fantastic Four is going to do well. We've heard, negative stuff about their test screenings. Lots of people are upset about a female Silver Surfer and stuff like that. Who knows if that's going to be a good movie? Fake's doing a lot of talking. He's trying to sell it, and we'll see if that makes a difference. But I can't see how this film makes more money than Jurassic World Rebirth. I just don't see how when you look at the other movies. There's been a lot of crap Jurassic World movies that have made around $1 billion. So this film could be great. I don't know, I haven't seen it. I've got mixed messaging about it, but without seeing it, I can't tell you. Because all films are a mess on the cutting room floor, in the editing bay, right? We know that. But look at the evidence. The fact that they brought in another composer isn't good. The fact that we were told that this film had James Gunn's comedic sensibilities, and we've seen 2 trailers that are very dark, moody, and gloomy. HBO, and it is HBO running things now, are changing what this film is. Because Warner Brothers obviously decided from the moment they saw the first cut, from the moment they saw Gunn's people cut that first cut of the teaser trailer, they didn't like the gags. They've shaved off 20 minutes of gags from this movie, from what I've heard. That's what they cut out. That's their concern, not the dark elements, but the comedic elements. They could have even made him go back to replace the comedic elements with serious elements. So you could actually still have a 2 hours and 20-minute movie, or at least a 2 hour, 10-minute movie. I'm not sure what this movie is going to be. We're seeing different pictures of the costume now. Like the baggy one seems to have gone away, and we're seeing a tighter costume. So is he now throughout the movie, not just the ending, got a tighter, more respectable looking costume in the movie? I couldn't tell you, everyone. I'm as confused as you are. I have absolutely no idea what's going on here. But an opening of 154 million to 175 plus would be very good, right? Some people say, no, it should be making more. Look, even if this is the case, let me try and explain something to you. Let's say, now there's no evidence that this kind of money is going to happen, by the way. This is done by someone called Box Office Theory. So that tells you everything you need to know. So, but an opening's an opening, but it's all about the drop-off. Because there's always a drop-off, it's just how much, it's going to drop to. Sometimes the drop is very small and minimal, which is great for the movie. And sometimes it's so huge. Batman vs. Superman opened to record-breaking numbers, but it took a nosedive to what? 65, 75%, maybe 80%. An 80% drop-off is fucking terrible. And it wasn't. The movie still brought home almost 900 million, but wasn't enough for WB. They wanted 200. Listen, not 200. What am I talking about? They wanted 2 billion. No question about that. That's what they wanted. They wanted Force Awakens money. And you can understand, you're putting Superman and Batman in the same movie, you can understand why you want Deadpool and Wolverine Force Awakens money. I don't think they were being, irrational wanting that type of money. But they've been pretty fair to James Gunn. As I say, they want around 750, 800 million, they'll be happy. They want to go over past Man of Steel enough so they can stick it to the Snyder fans as well. Because they hate the Snyder fans as much as the Snyder fans hate them. Don't get it twisted. But if this box office, even if they get these good, respectable numbers for an opening weekend, if the drop-off is so huge, then it may just make 500 million, which is no good. So a steep opening means absolutely nothing, right? Because let's say it opens up at 175 million, that's great. But then you get a steep drop off and it struggles to even get to 300, 400 million. Do you understand? Nobody knows. I keep on saying we could have a situation that no CBM makes bank this year. Thunderbolts isn't going to make bank. Captain America didn't make bank. Fantastic Four, we don't know how that's going to hit either. And Superman, we don't know how that's going to hit either. I don't know. Certainly the trailer views are very, very good, and it seems, at the very least, that people are interested in this movie. But there's so many conflicting pieces of information coming out about this movie. And as I said yesterday, the one that really, really concerns me is that they brought in a new composer. That guy has replaced John Murphy, James Gunn's pick. That tells you everything right now. James Gunn is on the bench. Other people have taken over this movie. That's concerning. That's worrying, because they shot a movie. Then they said, no, we don't like this. You're going to change this. You're going to change that. And then it just becomes, well, it's not a movie anymore. It's just, we've seen it so many times where it's all lumped together. Doesn't really make sense, and it doesn't feel like one person's movie. And this is, as I said yesterday, this must be a really new feeling for James Gunn, and not a good one at that. We will see on July the 11th. We will see before that when they release the tickets for sale in June, right? When, you know, it's June the 1st tomorrow, I think. What is it? It must be about June the 11th, when they'll, about a month before, when they start releasing tickets to be sold. And that's going to be very, very interesting. Look, it's, as I keep on saying, it's a fascinating situation. You have a studio on the brink of bankruptcy, relying on this one movie. They've tried to make it out like this movie, Superman 78, is going to be such a huge, beautiful representation of Superman. It's going to be the hugest, best superhero movie ever. They've tried to make it look, give this film reverence, and we'll see if that's the case. There is no hiding once this movie is released, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's so many reasons why, you know, the industry isn't making money anymore. You know, their stances, the way they talk publicly in interviews, the nonsense they say, the attacking of their audience. There's many reasons. Their creative bankruptcy. But the way they put a film together, shoot it, then keep on looking around on social media and test screenings to what people are saying, and these constant changes. Now, I know they've always done test screenings, but they've never been so paranoid about the final product. Has it helped them? Did it help Snow White to keep on changing the movie? To go from live action dwarves to CGI dwarves? Did that help them make more money? No! Is it going to help Fantastic Four making all these changes? No! Now, according to THR, there's been no real reshoots for Superman. Just pickups. And I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's been changes made to this movie. This movie, before we saw that teaser, was a jokey, cynical movie. That's what it was. A jokey, cynical movie with a little bit of emotion. And they've changed that. It wouldn't surprise me originally if they were going to kill off Superman. Maybe they still will. Interesting, isn't it? What is this film? What the hell is this film? This should have been a simple, paint-by-numbers Superman film that doesn't take any liberties, that doesn't piss off the fans, that pleases people, silences the Snyderverse stands, and then they can launch the DCU. And the way I'm looking at it right now, it's everything but that. But we haven't seen it. We don't know what it's going to be like. But yeah. And at the moment, numbers like this, and I've lost my page now, but numbers like this, 154 million to 175 million right now, are Fantasyland, Dreamland. They would love numbers like that. So when you're seeing numbers like this, you should think to yourself, nah. And then there's the other numbers that I saw, the lower estimates, done by somebody else. I can't remember who. 113 million opening, which is around Man of Steel opening. Don't forget, Man of Steel would have been released in less cinemas back in 2013. This will be released in many more cinemas, okay? So, and Man of Steel was a controversial movie. And that's why it had, it had a good solid opening, but I don't think the opening was great, but it had a good solid opening. But it took so long domestically to get to 200 million. And that was a problem as well. And in the end, it just didn't make the money the studio wanted because the investment, the marketing, the budget for the movie was huge and they wanted to make a huger profit. And you can understand that. And I think there's a little bit more generosity towards this movie from the studio. The brand's a bit damaged with what happened with Snyder, what we did with Snyder. We'll take 750. We'll take 750 to 850. That's what this film has to make. Make no mistake, there is no spinning anything less than what Man of Steel made. So they're under huge pressure. James Gunn's under huge pressure. What happens if this movie doesn't make bank? I can't. That's something else. I can't tell you. But it's going to be a disaster because you've got a Supergirl movie coming out. You've got Lanterns coming out. And it's interesting. If Superman flops, who the hell's going to be interested in Peacemaker 2? And they've got loads of Superman cameos, as James Gunn's already told us, in that second series. Everything relies on this movie being fantastic and successful.